I'm joined now by former law clerk to Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch and founder of the Article 3 Project, Mike Davis. Mike, good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
What a question this really is, though, because we know the Trump opponents all week appeared to have been using the narrative that if indicted or even convicted, Trump may not be able to run for president again under this Records Act. But really, is that true? Are the constitutional limits for him to run again?
That's just a silly legal argument peddled by Mark Elias, the Democrats' head campaign lawyer. The Constitution clearly spells out how we pick our president and the qualifications for our president. Even if Trump violated some document statute with the National Archives, the bureaucrats at the National Archives, which he absolutely did not do, but even if he did, that statute does not preempt the Constitution. The Constitution controls. There's just no way that a records violation with bureaucrats at the National Archives would disqualify a president. This is coming from the same Democrats who scream about democracy. Now they want to take away Americans' choice to whether they can vote for Trump or not over a ticky-tacky records violation.
You know, and Mike, also in addition to that, the Obama organization, it admits to having 30 million documents that they have yet to be digitized. They say they're working with the National Archives to digitize these documents. But then we have Mar-a-Lago seizing documents. A lot of questions here about why this is being done now to Trump, obviously, in light of that. You know, obviously the records are fine when it's a Democrat, fine when it's Obama.
So this is part of a pattern by Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Biden Justice Department to politicize the Justice Department to get Trump. President Trump was the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief. He had both the constitutional and statutory authority to declassify any record he wanted. He didn't pack his own damn boxes. Staff did that for him, just like every other former president when they leave. If he sent classified records to his Mar-a-Lago office, the office of the former president, those are declassified by his actions. And with any former president, what happens if there is a dispute over documents? The bureaucrats at the National Archives work with the office of the former president to negotiate this, to figure it out. Maybe you notify Congress, maybe you do a civil lawsuit, maybe you do a subpoena. You definitely do not do a home raid of a former president. This is over the top, third world tactics by Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Chris Wray, and they need to resign over this. If they don't resign, House Republicans need to impeach them.
Strong words. I mean, this story's been breaking all day long, as you know, following the developments, following that news conference that happened just about 3 hours ago with Merrick Garland. You know, a lot of people are saying, heavy-handed, yes. Why would they raid Mar-a-Lago if, according to the Trump team, they were cooperating with federal law enforcement claims? There's reports, you know, today from Wall Street Journal, June 3rd, that Trump was on the premises, spoke to the folks that were there, even went ahead and put a lock on, Mike, that they asked him to put on, which during the raid was then broken.
It's important for people to remember the federal government funds the office of former president for each of our former presidents. They have a staff. They have security clearances. They have Secret Service protection. They have secure facilities called SCIFs to handle classified records. There's no reason that they did this. And the Biden Justice Department cherry-picked this Palm Beach magistrate judge, Bruce Reinhart, who in 2017 posted on Facebook, he posted these comments attacking President Trump. The same magistrate judge recused 2 weeks ago in a lawsuit between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So what changed in the last, 6 weeks ago, what changed in the last 6 weeks where he thinks that he can sign this unprecedented home search of a former president, even though he just recused in a Trump matter 6 weeks ago? This magistrate judge down in Florida needs to be investigated. He sounds like a partisan hack.
Judge Reinhold, yes, a lot of talk about what he saw in that affidavit, which, according to Merrick Garland today, will be unsealed with Trump's permission. Mike Davis, great to have you in with us tonight. Thanks for breaking down some of the legalities and really good clarity. We appreciate it.
Thank you.